right, welcome back to the IMNerd podcast. I'm your host, Frayway. I'm here with my Squiddy co-host, Kenny. And yeah, we're going to be talking about Squid Game Season 2. So to kick things off, I watched this when it first came out, basically. Not immediately. I think I waited a week, but I would say I still caught it when the hype was really high and everyone was still talking about it on the internet, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. So it wasn't like too late, but it was around the weeks of Christmas and New Year's. I knew that Kenny was busy during that time. I was also obviously busy, but I had some time off of work and I had time to just like do whatever I wanted. And I figured, why not dive into this show? Even though when season 1 ended, we did a podcast on it. So if you haven't heard that yet, go back and listen to that episode. But I was saying that I really don't think that there needs to be a season 2 of Squid Game. And I think that most of the internet agrees with that. There just didn't need to be a season 2 because season 1 ended in such a good place where he survived the games. He won the prize. He got all this money. He dyed his hair red for some reason or pink or whatever.
So random.
He was going to go see his fucking kid. And then like he just turns around at the airport and decides to go back into it all. And that set up for the money grab that is season 2. That's how I felt leaving season 1. I was like, oh God, Netflix is going to Netflix. It's capitalism. There's money to be made. It was the biggest show they ever had, which is crazy to me because I like Squid Game season 1. I do not think it's the best show I've ever seen. I don't even have it in like top 20 shows I've ever seen. It's nowhere near. Like I cannot say that this is a top 20 TV show I've ever seen. Like,
so I mean, season 1 was awesome.
It is a good show.
Awesome show.
Yep.
But I mean, I agree. It's not like I think Stranger Things season 1, or at least for me. I mean, I know this is very subjective, but I personally like Stranger Things season 1 more than Squid Game season 1. But Squid Game season 1 is still awesome.
Yeah, and I also think what we're talking about the Stranger Things season 4, the one with Vecna getting a characterization and like the villain getting a characterization, I think was the best season of Stranger Things for me. I love that season. I think it's awesome. And so, yeah, the point is, though, I didn't think that Squid Game needed a season 2. I think you probably said the same thing in the podcast that we did years ago because it's been 3 years since this came out. And so I didn't really know what to expect going into this because like I thought maybe the main character from season 1 would be a slight character in season 2, but then they would do an entirely new cast type of thing. And in some ways that is true, but he is still the focal point of season 2, even though, and this is where I think they start to make some mistakes, some gripes that I have, so I'll kind of express them throughout this episode, but he is the main character still. But then there are these other characters that they try to focus on, but they don't quite actually go anywhere with their storylines. They just put out threads and the threads never go anywhere. And that is really problematic for me. And what I mean by that, if you want an example, is there's this girl who is one of those characters at a theme park, right? So she plays a gigantic pink bunny because, you know, they love pink in Squid Game, right? So she dresses up in this costume, a huge costume, and she gives pink lollipops to kids and shit like that. You know, that's like her job. And in the Squid Game, she's actually one of the people wearing the pink costume that shoots and kills you. Like if you fail, when they say you are eliminated, they fucking shoot and kill you. They sniper rifle you, they handgun you, they AK-47 you, whatever artillery they use, she's one of the people that actually walks up to you and kills you without even thinking about it, right? So you see like her storyline, which is kind of cool at first when you don't know that it's not going to go anywhere. Like the first couple episodes, I was like, oh, this is awesome. We get to follow someone who is on this side of the game.
Yeah.
Which we haven't really seen too much of this before. Like seeing them have a regular life and then seeing them like kill someone as their side gig or whatever is kind of like, oh shit. That's a little wild. She has this whole moment where she's about to be, trigger warning, raped by these 2 guys because she is actually going against what they're trying to do, which is harvest organs. And I thought that part was like really tense and it really made my blood boil because I don't like scenes like that, like the Sansa scene in Game of Thrones. Look at me bringing up Game of Thrones. But like the Sansa scene in Game of Thrones with Ramsay Bolton really made me like, you know, triggered. And then that scene where the 2 guys like, she fought them back and I was happy at first, but I was like, there's no way she's actually going to win this fight, right? Like she kicked the one guy in the nuts, I think. And then she like kind of started to get the best of the other guy. But then you realize it's still 2 men and they just overpower her and like get her on the ground. And I'm thinking like, oh, maybe somebody's going to barge in or maybe she's going to like stab one guy and do, you know, something that you see in a movie or a TV show. But it was more reality. It was 2 men against a girl and they just eventually like overpowered her and then made very like crazy insinuations about what they were going to do to her if she kept fighting. And so that whole storyline seemed like it was going somewhere. But by the end of 7, which this season is really short, 7 episodes, by the end of episode 7, like I don't like that storyline is just like it just kind of is not a factor. Like I don't know what to expect. And
so
go ahead.
I have a couple things to say about this, and it kind of leads into what you're. So first of all, my opinion hasn't really changed. I still think there should have been a season 2. Now, I will say that I enjoyed watching it. It was an enjoyable watch. It was, I guess better than I was initially giving it credit for.
Same. That's exactly how I feel.
In things I'll get into as we go on this episode, I still agree that it should have ended at season 1. Some of my evidence for this is like they ended season 1 in a way where they were like last minute. It feels like a last minute writing change. Like, hey, let's change the ending just in case this does well. We can make the season 2. But they didn't know that they were going to make a season 2 at the time. They were like, but we might be able to make
right. So leave the door open.
Let's do this. Proof in this is that it took 3 years or whatever for season 2 to come out. Where now, when season 2 comes out, it is done in a way where it's not a season. It's a half season.
It really is.
When episode 7 ends, it is the middle of the story. Like the story is not even close to done yet. And at the end of it, they say, and it came out in December or whatever. It came out at the end of 2024, basically 2025. And it says season 3, 2025. So season 3 is going to come out in either 1 or less year from. So basically my point is when they made season 2, they knew they were making season 3.
Right.
But when they made season 1, they didn't know they were making season.
Yeah, and there's evidence for that because you could definitely tell this is a half season for sure. It gives me the same exact vibes as Saw 4 to Saw 5. How we always shit on Saw 4 being an awful movie. Yeah. Like it's obviously not as bad as Saw 4 was. Saw 4 was really bad.
No.
Saw 4 was really bad. If you haven't heard our podcast episode on Saw 4, we just shit on it for like an hour. But basically,
and now we just shit on it on every other episode.
Yeah, we found a way to shit on Saw 4 because I think it's a perfect example of if you look at this as a whole with 4 and 5, it's actually not bad. But if you look at just Saw 4, if you're a moviegoer at that time, right, you're living in the moment, and Saw 4 comes out, you see the trailers, you see the previews, it's Halloween, you go out with your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whoever, you go see Saw 4, you're leaving the movie theater kind of tight that you spent money, you spent $50, probably $100 if you got popcorn to go see Saw 4 because you're like, that wasn't anything. And then you see Saw 5 and it makes the whole thing make sense and it has this epic ending with the guy getting crushed and shit like that in between because he wouldn't get in the coffin. It's like, it's epic, it's amazing. Saw 5's ending is one of the best ever, but it's 4 is not a standalone movie. This season of Squid Game, season 2, is not a standalone season at all.
No, and there's a lot of issues, like you said, with I was super interested in the idea that, we're going to get to see a lot of what it's like to be on the other end of Squid Game in this. Like, we're going to see how do these people get this job? Like, how do they get this job?
Right.
How much money are they making? Why are a bunch of random citizens, a lot of them young kids, it looks like, just okay with murdering people or being witness to murder or just being part of this entire scheme? Hundreds of kids and people in general just completely okay with murdering or being witness to murder or helping murders
complicit.
happen.
They're complicit in it.
Completely complicit. Why are they all okay with this? How do they get pegged for it? Because, like, I assume they have to be making a lot of money, right?
Right.
So are these people in the same situation as essentially the people that are in the game where you find somebody who needs money, doesn't have enough money, and then so you get some of them, you convince them to join this game, but then the other ones you convince that these guys are trash, even though you're kind of in the same situation. You convince them they're trash and they're going to do anything for money, and then you're going to kill for money. And it's like, but anyway, we didn't really get any of that. Maybe season 3 will. But they set up with this girl, you feel like you're going to see the other side of what it's like to be a worker in Squid Game and how they get there and what that whole process is. And we kind of just get none of that. We get some of her story. And then the guy that's the father of the little girl that has like cancer or whatever,
right?
That he ends up being in the Squid Game. And you feel like, he's going to be an important character. And he's in every episode. You just like see him.
Yep.
But so you feel like this guy's an important character, but he doesn't do anything at all. And then in like the last 2 episodes, he like has a couple speaking lines, and then he just dies.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure he's dead. Yeah, he's just like
either he dies
in the finale.
I'm sorry to say this. I do not know most people's names. The only people's names who I really remember are like Ilnam from season 1 because his son is like blatantly just number 1 in this game, it seems, or like some fucking guy who's related to him is player 1, which I have so many things to say, but I don't know many of the people's names. The people who I do know, and the internet hates them. I fucking love them. Thanos. I love Thanos. I'm ready to defend him. Bro. I do not care. Thanos was the most entertaining part of the entire Squid Game season 2, and I will hear none of it. I will hear nothing of the opposite.
All of you.
Thanos was the best part of Squid Game season 2. I don't care. His raps, bro. His hair, the way he was like a black Asian dude, like he was trying to be a caricature of black people. I loved it. I love his character. Whoever wrote that role is racist as fuck, but that shit was hilarious. Like, honestly, I'm so sick that he died.
Real quick, that just brings me up. That's just something and I want to say it before I forget. Something you just said something else I kind of thought was weird in the season is that it felt a lot more topical. Season 1 happened, it was 3 years ago. Thanos existed, cryptocurrency existed. I thought it was really weird. This season felt more like hip. It was like, hey guys, by the way, there's this thing called there's cryptocurrency. Hey, by the way, there's Thanos. You guys know about Marvel, right?
And there's a trans person.
Yeah, and it's just like it was a lot more hip, and I was just kind of like, this feels.
But
really
let's be honest, Kenny,
weird.
It's all like Western hip. It's all stuff that's going on in our culture, not necessarily Korea, because this is Korean, right?
Yeah.
So it felt very much as I was watching, and I watched Squid Game with the dub on, so they're speaking English. I do not watch it in Korean with subtitles. Just full disclosure for whatever that might do for the immersiveness of this podcast. But I watch it with them speaking English, which is so funny. Like I said, Thanos is my favorite character, but it does seem very like they're trying to just target the Western audience. I don't know. Actually, I do know a lot about Korea because Cairo lives in Korea. A true hero lives in Korea, and he tells us a lot about their culture and stuff like that. And I guess they are very heavily inspired by America, as a lot of Asian countries are. But like this did feel almost shoehorned in. And to be clear, obviously, like trans people just exist. So I am never one of those people who's going to be mad on the internet because a character is trans. Like I bet that there were people on Twitter the day Squid Game season 2 came out, they had a trans character. They were fucking losing their minds. Oh my God, the agenda is real. Squid Game, you lost me. Netflix, I'm canceling my subscription.
Well, too.
Me too. I actually think that she was pretty fucking badass. Honestly.
Oh yeah, she was awesome.
That character was bad. Like as her story unfolded, and this is the thing, I feel so bad. I don't know anyone's name but Thanos. But like as her story unfolded, you found out that she was in the military and her life was pretty normal. But then as soon as she basically came out as trans, she lost everything. Right? She got disowned. Her dad stopped speaking to her. She couldn't stay at her house anymore, and like her life just got really hard.
She said something that was like really impactful. I don't remember the exact quote, but it was essentially like when she came out, she was finally herself. She was finally comfortable with who she was, but she lost everything. And it was like
that's
like
deep.
It was like she spent her whole life not feeling like herself, not being comfortable with herself, and but she had her life, she had her family, she had her job, etc. But then when she came out and she was comfortable with herself, who she was finally happy with who she was and proud of who she was, like in that way. But then she lost her family, she lost her job, and it was just like really. It's kind of like a really poignant moment.
Yeah, and as somebody like, I am homosexual, but my family did not disown me or honestly really treat me any differently because of it. Like I was fortunate in that way, and I know that not every person who is, part of the LGBTQ umbrella has that same experience where their family is accepting of it and able to just let them be them, right? Like just let them live their life as they are and accept them for who they are. So she was speaking to a very real part of this culture and is really unfortunate. And I even have like friends and stuff like that who I know have had similar experiences where you get like kicked out the house and all that kind of stuff. It's really fucked up and really dark. And to those parents, like you're a shitty parents if you do that to your child, because I promise you, like they literally cannot change that. So I didn't mind at all in Squid Game that they had representation like that. So that didn't bother me, but between them putting the trans person in with the crypto, with the Thanos character, and just like shoehorning all of these things that I felt like, because at the end of the day, Squid Game didn't really need a season 2, but they were like, how can we really get people to talk about this? I feel like those things were thrown in as a way to do that. And here's one bad thing I'll say about the trans character is that apparently they're not actually played by a trans person. It is a regular guy who's just like pretending to be trans. And this has been a hot topic for the last couple years about people playing, for example, like if you wanted a gay character in a movie, should you have Leonardo DiCaprio play the gay character? Because he's a great actor, right? And he could play as a gay character. Or Timothy Chalamet, should he play a gay character, even though he, in real life, is blatantly a heterosexual male and identifies as like heterosexual, is not gay at all? Should they be playing characters that are gay or trans or whatever? And it's like, I do get it from both sides, where it's like, okay, you're an actor, so you are always acting as something that you're not, right? Like Leonardo DiCaprio in certain movies that I love him in is pretending to be poor, like on the Titanic. He's pretending to be he's fucking rich.
We know it. We know he ain't not.
He's just not poor. Like he's a fucking A-list celebrity movie star, and he's playing in the Titanic, which was the biggest movie of all time at the time and wasn't dethroned until Avatar came out, like 20 years later. So you have like a guy playing a poor person. Like, should they get a real poor person to play that? So I get it in that regard. Now, obviously, it's not apples to apples, right? But then there's the side of, well, these roles could go to people who are normally disenfranchised, right? Like most queer people in that space don't really have the opportunities that like someone heterosexual does. And the world is getting a lot better with these types of things. But realistically, people have been fully blackballed out of Hollywood because of their sexuality. I mean, Luther Vandross, a documentary just came out about Luther Vandross last week. And in it, they were talking about his sexuality because if you don't know, it was alleged that Luther Vandross, and it's kind of widely known, but like he never confirmed it himself, but Luther Vandross was homosexual. And the reason why he never came out as homosexual to the public is because of what it would do to his career. Because that's how bad it was back then to say in the 80s, I am homosexual. And these songs that I'm singing, they are not like I'm not really singing them about a relationship with a woman. I'm really singing them about a relationship. Like my love life is
that would have tanked his career.
It would have tanked. It would, and this is so fucked up. But like in the 80s, it would absolutely, especially because at that time, this is like towards the end of it, but people still thought that like HIV was a gay disease and stuff like that. So there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure for him to not come out. And so times are way different now, right? We have gay rappers and gay actors and like gay people are just in everything and trans people are in everything. And it's not really too much of a problem with anyone with a brain. Like we just have a brain and a pulse. Like you don't really care that somebody is gay and they're an actor or gay or whatever and they're a rapper or whatever career that you think that like regular people should have. Like everyone should be able to do these roles, right? Everyone should be able to do it. So I get it on both sides. I'm wondering, what do you think about this? Like having a straight male play a trans character in Squid Game.
I think in general, it's fine because basically I think that what we want to move toward isn't that when you have a gay character in a movie that they have to be played by a gay person. What we want to move toward is that whatever actor ends up being best for the job. Here's what I'm saying. I don't want gay actors to be forced to only have gay roles. Right. And I don't think they want that either. So if there's a gay actor off the top of my head, I can't think of one. I don't know everybody's personal
Timothée Chalamet. Tom Holland.
Can somebody cancel him? Because somebody fucking like
Tom Holland.
Fuck him up.
Tom Holland is a twink.
No.
Spider-Man. Tom Holland.
Oh man. So anyway, Tom Holland and his very gay career. Yeah. But a gay actor, I imagine, doesn't want to only play gay characters.
Right. That makes sense. Because I wouldn't want to only play some like, this is a stereotype, but I wouldn't want to only play some like super ghetto, gangster, thuggish character that's like whatever stereotypes that Hollywood has had for Black people for so many years. I would not want to only play in those kind of roles.
Right. So I think that you want to have a gay actor play in a rom-com where he's in a heterosexual relationship. You want to have that. You want that level of equality to exist. So in that regard, I think it's fine for like a straight person to play a gay person in a movie, even if there's gay actors. I just want to make sure that on the same side of the coin, those same actors are getting their like roles and blah, blah, blah. They're not being blackballed in the industry. On the like, you get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I want them to be able to get their roles and not, because they're gay, not get any roles. And then on top of that, all the straight guys are getting the gay roles too.
Right.
I want it just like people to get the roles that they're, they go and they act
that
they're
best
for. Yeah, that's
just
their
best
for.
Yeah, you were the best person for this role. And I don't know.
Like you said, every Black actor shouldn't have to like play in a fucking Tyler Perry movie. Like,
right.
They should be able to just be in like a Martin Scorsese movie. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, or a Marvel movie or whatever. Right. I get your point. Yeah. And that's kind of what I'm saying is like, and I like that you brought this up because now that I think about it, like I wouldn't want to play only as a gay Black guy who's like maybe super, over the top or whatever. Because that's another stereotype. A stereotypical role that was a thing like in the 90s and stuff like that. Whenever you would see like a gay guy in a movie, they'd always be the most outrageously feminine, like, and they'd be messy too, like they always be sassy as fuck, they always have to be dressed a certain way. It's just like that was what Hollywood thought, this is what a gay person is, right? Like they're super sassy and super like, you go get it girl in 3 snaps, like the 3 snap thing, right? It's like it was always, oh no she didn't, like it was always that. So I'm really happy that times have changed and like people are realizing more and more that obviously queer people are just like fucking regular people too. So yeah, that was one of the things, but the crypto thing seemed super random. The one guy was like, yo, you're going to get us our fucking money but they've already told you that the way Squid Game works, and you know this now because you've seen people be eliminated in red light, green light. Yeah. When you're eliminated, you're killed. So, and like this game really only has one winner unless you guys leave together, which the people saying that they want the money are actively fighting against leaving the game. So how could he ever actually pay you back? If he wins the game, you're dead. Like that's what that means. It's a zero-sum game. It actually is a zero-sum game. It's really stupid.
Oh, it's so funny. Yeah, there's some silly shit. But yeah, so I guess we'll backtrack.
Yes, I have so many things I want to talk about. So let's talk about some of these different groups of characters. There's the guy and his mom. They're there throughout the entire season. It's like a guy and his mom is super old. And at one point during the Mingle game, and I love the Mingle game. Oh my God, the Mingle game is so crazy. But there's a guy and his mom, and during the Mingle game, he basically kind of just like leaves his mom to die. And she ends up getting saved by another character. And when people confront her about it, she's like, no, how dare you say that about my son? He would never do that. He fell or something. Like she makes excuses for him, but in reality, he's kind of a piece of shit. And there was even a point where, when they all had to vote, I think was he the last one at one point? And she was like,
he was never the last one, but there was one of the times it was like the second vote. Cause I think there's 3 votes throughout the season.
There's a bunch of voting. There's actually too much voting.
There's way too much voting. The second vote, he votes to stay in, and he's like, and this was so dumb because the money was at like an amount, and he was like, his mom was like, okay, like we'll get out now. And like essentially we get double the money because there's 2 of us.
Yes, and we'll start a little shop. Yeah, they were going to start a little shop.
And then he votes to stay in, and he's like, yeah, but we don't have enough. We need to survive one more game because my debts are actually a little bit bigger. But then here's the thing. You don't know that you're going to live, number one, and you don't know that your mom's going to live. So is the amount of money in the next game going to be enough to, like, will that be more than double? Because, like, you and your mom are going to put this money together. But let's say the next game your mom dies. Now you're only going to get
It's actually a huge loss if she dies, bro. Because it's like you literally lost half of the money. Now you're not getting double. Yeah, you get half of the money if she dies. But hold on, can we just talk about the fact that risking your mother is crazy?
Crazy!
I kept watching it. Kenny, were you watching it like, this is wild? Like, this is... Bro, your mom, she's frail, too. So... To be clear, this is like a 65-year-old small Asian woman. She's not very strong. She's not very anything. Like in terms of athleticism, which there are a lot of people there who are actually athletic as fuck, she's not any of that. So in my head, I'm thinking, if they repeat any of those kinds of games, aka tug of war from season 1, which required you to just have brute strength, or if you were on a team with a guy that had a strategy where you lean back like he showed everybody, if you just lean back super crazy, which no one would know to do that except that one guy knew that. But like, if you don't even have a crazy strategy, or she just happens to be at the end of a team that's like a bunch of brawlic ass dudes, your mom's dead. If they play tug of war again, your mom's dead. If your mom has to do anything that relates to strength training or anything like that, your mom's dead. Anything stamina wise, your mom's dead. So it's
anything that requires like a team in a weird way. Like, for example, in the second game, the game that they just survived before doing that vote, they had to create teams of 5 or teams of 6. I think it was teams of 5.
Yeah, I think it was 5.
And they had trouble getting a team because of the mom. The mom's an old lady. They ended up having like a misfit team. It was him, the old lady, like some girl, and then like
was the trans person on
the trans person.
Yeah.
And then I think there was like one other random.
Yeah, it's basically like all the people that were rejected by
everyone else.
Yeah, everyone else, right? So a couple things to go back about Squid Game, like let's go high level real quick. So let's zoom out a little bit. I did not like that there were only 3 games this entire season. I did not like that.
You ain't the only one,
bro. I'm so mad that, and this is the problem with doing these short seasons. Ever since the writer strike, and I don't even know if this is affected by that. I just blame the writer strike on everything though. Not that the people should not get paid more. I'm happy that the writers actually are getting, hopefully, their just due and compensation. But Hollywood is instead deciding, all right, if we have to pay these people more, we're just not releasing 10 episode seasons anymore. So it's like,
here's the thing. Squid Game season 1, I think, is only 8 episodes.
Oh, really? It's just a complete story, regardless.
Yeah, I had a very similar feeling as you when I'm watching this. So first of all, contrary to, from what I understand from what Frazier messaged me before, and then actually like 2 or 3 of my other friends who saw the season before me said something very similar. I'm a little bit opposite, but episodes 1 and 2, I actually kind of liked more than the rest of the season in a weird way.
Oh, interesting.
Which a lot of people, those were like the more boring episodes and the slower episodes.
Yeah.
But so episodes 1 and 2 were a lot of setup. But there was some interesting drama in there that I was like,
for sure, they're not complete losses.
Yeah, that I thought was setting up things that could be more interesting to go. But then you get those 2 episodes, you finally get into the Squid Game, starting like episode 3, and then you have like it's like a death game show again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, but it just feels like it wastes so much time. And so you only get to see 3 games in the 7 episodes.
So you see a lot of voting, a lot of bullshit.
You get a lot of voting. You get 2 episodes of setup. Then you get into the death game. You have some things that are like good and then some things that are bad that we can talk about. And then like the last 2 episodes are just like kind of more bullshit.
Yeah.
I think the whole thing at the end was fucking stupid. Like I thought his plan was stupid.
It was a bad plan. Are you kidding? That shit would never work, Kenny. You know it wouldn't work. That's why you thought it was a bad plan.
It was so bad because he's sitting there to like skip to the end, but he's sitting there and they're like, okay, we have the blah, blah, blah. We'll jump them. And he's like, no, look, if we kill them, we're not any better than they are. Instead, we're just going to kill all these random people. And there's hundreds of them and they're all armed to the teeth, but we're going to take out like 7 of them and get 7 guns and we're going to take over this place.
But we don't have guns.
By the way, 3 years ago, they gave me $46 billion.
Yep.
Okay.
Elon Musk.
They have infinite money. They have infinite guards. They have infinite guns. How the fuck is this plan going to work?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense. It also doesn't make sense that you're going to infiltrate and say, like, no amount of money that you have, they gave you the money, remember. There's nothing he can do for season 2 to ever work, for his plan to ever work. Obviously, when it's all said and done, he'll come out victorious in the end. But it doesn't make sense.
I actually hope not.
All.
I actually fucking hope the fuck not. Okay, let me be very clear. No, stop. You know? No. I'm not agreeing.
You.
No,
I'm with you.
He should die, Kenny. Did you see the way season 2 ended? He should be fucking dead. They should hang him out.
I agree.
To dry.
He's not going to die. He's going to win in the end. It's going to be so dumb.
That literally doesn't make sense. But here's the thing. So to back up a little bit, the part where he was like, the one guy's like, we don't have guns. And he's like, we'll just take theirs. I was like, what? How the fuck did nobody just say, you know what? I'm a bow out. I'm a bow out. I'm gonna go over with the X's and I'm a bow out. Is it okay you mind if I bow out? I'm a bow out. Great. Because we gonna just take theirs is insane. Like, that's insane to say. Like, we're just gonna take their guns. Like, how are y'all gonna just take their guns?
Also, they survived like the night fight by hiding under their bed.
That didn't make sense either. That just didn't make sense.
Not a single person fell on the ground and like saw them under the. Nobody looked under a bed.
That just didn't make any sense.
There was people flipping beds over. Like, none of the beds they were under got flipped over. Like,
that just didn't make sense. Can we talk about other things that didn't make sense? The main character who's been through this, he's the only character who's been through this except maybe 001. Okay. We remember from season 1 that all of the games they're going to play are actually on the walls in the big room that everybody sleeps and eats in. All of the games was revealed in like one of the last episodes of season 1 when they were having a dinner and they finally cleared everything out, right? And they're in that big room and, you know, somebody's gonna have to die at this dinner. But if you looked around, you saw the cookie game where you have to like carve it out. You saw red light, green light. You saw the one where they all have to fucking step on glass and die. You saw literally every single game was surrounding them. The main character, who is the only person who knows to look out for these types of things. People asking for advice and how do you know so much and blah, 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 right? Obviously, which is what you would do if you found out that a guy literally played this shit before and he won. You'd be on top of him like white on rice. He's not disclosing, and it seems like he forgot. It's not even that he's not disclosing. It's not like he's withholding it. He just doesn't realize that, like, in this room,
things are on the wall.
Because they're asking him about the carving game. He said, somebody said, what's the easiest one to do? He said, the triangle. And they said, oh, you must have got the triangle. But we know he got like the fucking umbrella or some shit. Like, he got something. Yeah. He got something that was difficult, actually. He had to like lick it a bunch and all that, and it was really tense. But they're asking him about the games. He said, oh yeah, the next one is probably going to be the carving thing. The triangle's the easiest, all this other stuff. And people are getting all worked up about it. Like, oh, like, who is he really? You know, all this.
I also think it's crazy to assume that all of the games are just going to be the same.
That is a wild assumption. But he could have just verified to be like, yo, that was when I came here, the walls were painted with the games before and they're just different now. So we're probably not playing the same games. And he got confirmation very quickly when the second game was the 5-person group thing that like, oh, we're not playing the same game. But he should just know going forward. And before that even happened, all right, last time I was here, it was on the walls. Oh, it's the games. As I'm watching the show, by the way, I'm staring at the fucking drawings of the games on the walls because they're there. Like, they're blatantly there. There's still the game. There are games that we haven't seen in season 2 that are on that wall that I can't wait to see like what they actually are.
Yeah.
But my point is that the main character seems to have just forgotten so many important things about the way this all works. For example, Ilnam, the old dude from season 1 who literally was a headmaster who decided to join the game, was number 001, right?
Yep.
So like when this new number 001 shows up, he randomly says your name when you never told him your name, and you get suspicious about it, but then he just says, "Oh, I heard your buddy call you that."
Yep.
No, you didn't.
And then his name was his name was ill something. Yeah. I don't remember what it was.
Terrible.
But I remember when he said his name, he was like, it was like something ill or ill something.
Something very similar.
And I was like, and I remembered, because if you had asked me beforehand what the name of the old guy was, I would have said, I don't remember. But when he said his name and I heard ill, I was like, oh shit, the old guy's name was Ilnam. Like it clicked for me. And then I was just like, and also I also just recognized that guy's face.
Yeah, we know because they showed him before he entered the game. They showed him in the black suit, and he had the black mask or whatever. He was like one of the guys that controls the whole operation, and he went into the game.
That's also not his name, because we know he's the other guy's brother.
Right. The detective who's never getting anywhere, apparently.
He purposely picked a name. He purposely picked a name that was a hint. He's number one. He picked a name that would be a hint to Ilnam. Like, he's purposely leaving hints for Guillaume, I think his name is, the main character. He's purposely leaving hints, and, like, he's not picking up on them. But the other thing that annoyed me is that in season 1, it's like, this is a death game show, and you kind of accept the rules for what they are, and it's like, you have more of a suspension of disbelief. By season 2, though, it's trying to establish itself as more as a world, and things are trying to make more sense and be more...
Like Saul trying to leave outside of the fucking facility that they actually do all the murders in. It's like, okay, hold on now.
So I start to have a bit more scrutiny when you try to build upon it and like make it more in depth and like really act like you know what you're doing.
Make it realistic too. Like how? Like some of this stuff is like, how are you trying to make this realistic, bro?
So like, for example, I just don't believe that if after every game, after you watch dozens of people get murdered, that it's going to be a close vote of staying in. I truly don't. I don't care how much money's up there. I don't believe that it's going to be a close vote.
I agree with that so much.
Go ahead.
No, go. You go. I'm saving my point.
The second thing is, once again, talking about the main character and him knowing all of this, he's literally just withholding it for, like, he could just, hey guys, I know you guys keep saying these are childhood games. Guys, the last game that I played last time, now it doesn't mean it's going to be the same. The last game was step on a random piece of glass that might fucking break and fall to your death. Yeah. Like, it's not a fucking playground game.
It's not a game at all.
It's jump on glass and fall to your death. That's what what one of the games were. Another game was sit in a room, eat turkey, and kill everybody in the fucking room. Like that. Like, by the way, one of the nights, every night they gave us like a piece of bread and some milk out of a carton to eat and drink. One of the nights they gave us forks and fucking knives, and everybody killed each other in the room.
Yep.
And they like set it up, and they gave us glass bottles of Coke to fucking use as weapons. They're like, I would have you gotta lay this up. Like, you're hiding information that would sway people, be like, you know what, this is fucking crazy. Because they're trying to get you to kill each other. Yeah. And they're trying to kill you.
And I like how...
And he just withholds all this information.
I do like that, you're right. You're absolutely right. I like that when he saw the fork and he realized what was happening, the realization crept over his face, because they didn't realize, and I didn't notice this until it happened. I said, oh shit, they didn't realize that if they kill each other, that's also just fair.
Yeah.
Like, it'll just say player whatever's eliminated, and it won't be like you get shot for killing somebody. They didn't know that. They kind of went in how you would probably go in if you were in Squid Game. You wouldn't just kill somebody because you don't know what the fuck is going to happen. You might get shot in the head because you did that.
Yep.
But once they realize it, once the bathroom thing happened and they killed Thanos and they came out and the circles and the X's, they were like, yo, they fucking jumped us in the bathroom. It's like, no, they fucking started it. They killed Thanos. Once that happened and people realize, and it starts saying player 368 eliminated, player 470.
And fucking money drops down.
And money drops down. Then the realization is like, oh God, we can kill each other and blatantly increase the mounts, which means this guy's old ass mom is just money. Like, you will just see people as dollar signs. But I want to harken back to one of your points that you make, because I agree with you so much on this. And as I was watching it, I know that suspension of disbelief is a thing when you're watching a show like this, right? I love Game of Thrones. The whole fucking show is based on magic and dragons and shit like that. But like you said, they're trying to make Squid Game seem more realistic by building a world outside of it more. And what I just don't agree with is people seeing these games and playing in these games and losing almost losing their lives very easily, almost losing their lives. People making it across the finish line with 1 second left and shit like that. And then saying, we're going to play the next one. Every single vote was the reason why I think the voting is so bad is because it's the same result every single time.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't need to see it 3 times. It's actually wild to act like the viewer is going to believe that people keep voting to stay in this fucking game when people keep on dying and losing their lives over and over and over, and the games seem more and more ridiculous. I personally, Kenny, so the Mingle game is definitely like outrageous, but to me, I think the second game was insane. The second game with the 5 people is fucking insane to me.
First of all, so much was crazy. Okay, so the one where you like throw a stone and hit a stone, obviously it's a small stone, but like that's fine.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
I can throw a stone and hit a stone, whatever. The one where you gotta like throw it up, pick it up, throw,
Kenny,
and then throw, pick up 4, pick up the other one, throw
Stango,
all of them,
Luke
catch
Feeney,
them on the other side of your hand,
Cairo,
throw them again, catch them. I was like,
we would be dead, bro. Me, you, Stango, Luke Feeney, and Cairo would be fucking dead. We'd be dead. We'd be dead right there. We'd look at each other. We'd be like, who's going to do it? And no one could ever do that.
That was crazy. And then I've played hacky sack.
Same.
I've never played hacky sack with one leg, but then on top of that, your other leg is chained up.
Yeah.
So like you don't have like
your equilibrium's off. Yeah.
So like try to play hacky sack where you're chained to 5 people, you can't really move, and you gotta like that's fucking crazy. I've never really done that like weird
the spinning top
thing. Like
me either. I think that's a strictly, could be wrong, but that seemed like some strictly Korean shit. I mean, also the bouncing thing and pick him up and bounce him and pick him up. The bounce and pick him up thing was by far the hardest one. And like he had to tell his mom, remember when you used to do this with bullets?
Yeah.
And then she just like aced it. But there were parts where people started yelling at their teammates. They're like, yo, get it the fuck together. And then that makes it worse, obviously, because now I'm scared because you're yelling at me. I have anxiety because I'm also realizing that if I don't do this, we actually die. It's not like at a YCS, the 3v3, if you set Citizen Serpent in your back row and like we lose that round or whatever, sure, it sucks, but it's not the end of the world, and we could be friends after that, and it's not that big of a deal. In the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal. But if you set Citizen Serpent and I get shot in the fucking head because you did that shit, guess what? I'm pissed. I'm in hell pissed. I am pissed at you for that. So
I can't remember what the first game was. The first of those 5. It's the rock throw, the hacky sack, the
spinning top,
pick up throw, the spinning top, and then there's one more that I'm having trouble remembering.
I don't remember what it was because I know they all did he ho. They kept walking.
Yeah.
They kept walking forward. I don't know why I thought the first one was the rock throw thing, but I think you might be right. There was something else to do. Yeah, can't remember what it was, but just the one that stuck out the most is the one where you have to bounce the ball and pick up the pieces and then keep on escalating it. And so then you have to flip them on your hand. It was crazy. I said so many teams would fail right there.
Yeah, and then it was weird. That's obviously so in America and maybe in other places we have a similar game like Jacks where you like bounce a bounty ball and pick up the Jacks. That's exactly what I thought it was like Jacks.
Yeah.
But I feel like Jacks is a bit different. This thing, for whatever reason, it's like a Korean game. But for what I thought this was like an interesting detail, and I'd like to know more. It's like played by girls. They made it like a kind of a point that like girls play this, and like it's not really played by guys,
right?
Because they were like there was only one girl on the one team, and they looked at the girl, they're like, "Oh, you can play it," and she was like, "I've never played that in my life." And then the one guy was like, "I can do it," and then they kind of looked at him weird, like he was gay, almost like, "Why do you know how to play this?" And then he was like, "Oh, I had 4 older sisters growing up."
Okay, so it was very hard. Like it was blatantly given like sexist vibes. Like this is a game for girls and only girls play this. Like if there was a jump rope competition and you were like, Kenny was like, "I can do it," and I'd be like, "Why the fuck can you do jump rope?" It's kind of that same vibe.
Yeah,
because in America, like jump rope is usually played by women.
Yeah. So yeah, like double dutch, right?
Exactly. Double dutch is usually done by girls.
Like if I was able to get in, like if I was even able to get into the double dutch,
I'm getting smacked.
Even getting in is fucking hard.
I'm getting smacked in the face. I think it's magic that girls can do that. I want to be clear about this. I think it is straight up witchcraft that girls can look at 2 rotating, slapping the ground wires and at high velocity and decide with precision that they're going to jump in the middle of it and not get smacked in the face.
They jump in and start smacking their fucking legs and shit. Like,
bro, I've seen them start turning.
They start dancing in there.
Challenge 1, 2, 3, and pick up the piece and stomp the roaches up the ladder. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? When I was young and I first saw that shit, I was like, they did not do this.
When we bitches fucking
when we played Jailbreak, when the guys were playing Jailbreak and the women were doing witchcraft with that fucking jump rope shit, I didn't know what was going on. But yeah, I think that shit is sorcery.
I thought it was interesting that for whatever reason that's considered a girl game. Because when I was watching them, I was like, I don't know what about this makes it a girl game.
I don't know.
I don't know what the fuck makes it a girl game.
Wouldn't a guy having bigger hands just be better for this? Like, what are we talking about?
I don't know what's going on here, but this game is crazy.
Yeah, so that was the second game. And one of the things I love about Squid Game, so the first 2 episodes were definitely hard for me to get through. I know we talked about this very briefly, but like Kenny said he did enjoy them. I got the best sleep of my life during the winter break. During the month of December, I don't think I slept.
That is so rude.
When I tell y'all, I don't sleep very often, by the way. I make it a note to not go to bed before midnight every night and to not sleep any later than like 8 a.m. every day. So I don't usually sleep that much every night. And I got the absolute best sleep of my life watching Squid Game season 2. Those first 2 episodes, when I tell you I spent 3 nights on episode 1, 2 nights on episode 2. Then I gave up on the show and I said, all right, it's ass. I'm not going back to it. And then I eventually said, fuck it. I'm going to tough it out. I'm going to watch this when I wake up. That way I can't go to sleep again. Why did I start dozing off again? But anyway, I did wake up, brush my teeth, turned it on, stayed in the bed, which was a mistake because I got too comfortable. I started dozing off while I was watching it again. But I did make it to episodes 1 and 2. Very difficult for me, but best sleep of my life. Thank you so much for Squid Game season 2 for that, for those first 2 episodes.
It's crazy.
But like, I don't understand why we spent so much time with this wild goose hunt with the brother who survived somehow and this guy who like found him shipwrecked or whatever, that apparently was like a double agent because he's preventing them from actually finding the island. But then we just see so many scenes of the same thing where they go to a place, they mark it off on the map, and they're like, oh, this isn't it. Guess we got to try again for some other place. Then they go to another place, mark it off on the map, and this continues and continues. And then there's booby traps and shit that kill some of the people.
It goes through the whole season. Like nothing. Nah, I get it. Season 3, something is going to come from that. Right. But like the entirety of season 2, nothing fucking comes from this side plot of the detective, other than at the end reveals that the one guy is working for the Squid Game.
Yes, he blatantly.
Other than that, it's like nothing fucking comes from this plot.
And just like the voting, you see it so much. You see so many scenes cut away to this group, and then nothing really comes of that. So you're just annoyed watching it. So that was really annoying. I think the red light, green light part was really well done because that one played on expectations. Everyone who's watching season 2 has obviously seen season 1. We know what's going to happen if you move. The people were blatantly disrespecting the main character when he was telling them like, yo, don't move. You're going to get shot. And they were kind of acting like, how do you know that this guy's fucking gassing us up? Like before the game started, they were all, some people were blatantly just saying that he's not telling the truth, or how the fuck would you know? And, so as a viewer, it's kind of cool because we're waiting and they make us wait so long, which I don't mind this. The anticipation, the build up to the first person getting shot was so insane. When that mosquito or fly or whatever went on the person's neck, and then it made them kind of like slap at their neck or whatever they ended up doing, they moved while it was red light. They moved, they got fucking shot. And the second they got shot, somebody looked down, saw it, and started screaming. And then
they got shot.
Exactly what you think would happen. And this is why I love the entire aspect of red light, green light being the first game. It's a culling game, right? You have 456 players. You need to cull it. They cull it by almost half immediately. And I love that because I think red light, green light should always be the first game. Now that I've seen it twice, I feel like it always will, as long as the show goes on. But it's such a good first game because, especially if you don't have a person that already knows what's going to happen, but like the first time somebody gets killed is going to cause a fucking stampede.
Yeah, and then a lot of people die.
Yep. So it's a great first game. I love that a lot.
Also, they're fucked up because they definitely put those bees in there. Like, because I think it was I don't think it was a random bee.
Me either.
I think it was on purpose.
Everything else is controlled in this place.
He was fucking the game up. He was making it so nobody was dying.
Yeah.
And they were successfully getting this to happen. And then all of a sudden, some random bees started showing up.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, they like somebody this isn't a random bee. Like they fucking let this bee loose.
Yeah. I really, really like red light, green light again, even though I've seen it before. Going in it again, you're like, okay, what would I do in this situation, right? Like, what you're thinking about what you would do. I think that there were many scary points in red light, green light where they all lined up. So now, and this happened to somebody, I believe, but if somebody falls into you, you also just die.
Yeah. You know what I think I would do? My strategy would be.
I want to hear it because I know you're really smart when it comes to shit like this.
I don't know if I would think of this the first, but I think I probably would have thought of this the first time too. Just like, because like my strategy would be crawl. Because if you're laying on the ground, I think I can crawl fast enough. Like I'll like dog run real quick.
Yeah.
And then just lay down.
Yep.
Because you just laying on the ground, there's a much smaller chance of something going wrong and you wiggle and falling.
I agree with that.
If I'm already just laying on the ground, there's so much less margin of error for me to like move accidentally.
Yep.
So that would be my strategy. Is like,
and even if you get stepped on, you just say, I'm taking it. I am fucking taking it, bro.
Yeah. Run along the ground and then just like lay. Yep. Run along the ground, lay
flat like a Final Fantasy attack. Yeah, I could totally see that. I also think they do a great job of when the death games start, when people start getting murdered. There's a fear that I have of how like quick it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you get eliminated in Squid Game, part of what makes it so terrifying to me, because this shit definitely gives me horror vibes, the way some people beg for their lives and they still just get killed mercilessly, that is so real. That's so much more realistic than what you usually see in a movie that's horror or anything like that. Like people, sometimes they get away from it. Like even a one guy who got shot and then he didn't really get killed and he thought he was good. And then they fucking saw him and killed him anyway.
Yep. He just killed him. He even made it across the line at the end, and then they just shot him.
Yes, because he was technically eliminated earlier, but they couldn't get the shot on him because I think he was like hiding or some shit. I forget how it happened, but he didn't get killed.
The guy purposely didn't kill him. The guy purposely did a non-lethal shot so they could harvest his organs, and then the girl finished him off. And they were like, "Why'd you do that?" And she was just like, "That's what I was told."
Oh, was that the guy that they carried across the line? Like they went out for him? You know, the main character went out for him and grabbed him and got him. Yeah, and then they said, well, you did move. You did break the rules of the game and you lost, so we're still killing you. That would have freaked me out too, because it's like, fuck. Like there's really no out. Like once you're marked for death in Squid Game, you're just dead. And no, they just kill you so nonchalant. They walk up to you with a pistol and shoot you. They shoot you with a sniper rifle. They shoot you with an AK-47. They just shoot you. And there's not much to if you're in a room and the room has the wrong number of people, they fucking put the gun inside the little hole while you're all in that room, and they just let the gun go and wipe out the whole room, then open the door and check the room to make sure that all y'all are actually dead.
Yep. It's
dark.
It's wild. It's wild. It's by the way, speaking of things so I thought that Mingle game was interesting. That's also something I felt like by like the fifth rotation, I was like, I get it. Like I feel like it was like, all right, guys, like, because it didn't really feel like a game. Especially by the fifth time, I was like, all right. Like,
yeah. Calling these things, some of these don't need to be called games. Like you said, season 1, stepping on the glass is not a game. That's just if you went first, you die. That's all that's not a game. It's just, I went first. I'm actually just fucking dead. Either I should have played the Powerball with my life, because if you win it, then you astronomically chose right 50% of the time, every single time, which is crazy to do that like 28 times in a row. So either you should have played the Powerball and never have been in debt in the first place, or you're just dead, which is what really happens to everybody. So I think that's not a game either. The Mingle thing was so good to me because as I was watching it, I was thinking about what I would do, because that's what I do with a lot of things. I mention this on the podcast all the time. I try to put myself in the situation of the characters on screen. When they got to like certain points, you have to think about the strategy needs to change. For example, in the beginning, they choose a big number of players and you get in a room, right? And that's kind of easy, right? Like it's kind of easy. You just get like, oh, it's the number 7 people go into a room, boom. The very last one was 2 people, which means that it's more important to just run to a door and stand there.
Yeah.
You don't need to be in the middle of the room trying to get a person and then find a room. You just immediately dick it for a room and just stand there and scream, yo, I got a room. Somebody come in. Anybody come in right now. Like literally.
I think it's correct to do that every round. Maybe you just send more people to press. Like, let's say it's 5. And let's say you end up getting 3. Okay, 3 of you go grab, like, because you have to secure a door.
You do.
3 of you go here and then just fucking.
No matter what,
like whatever it is.
No matter what, you always need a room. So you might as well secure a room no matter what, and then just figure out the rest after that. I do think it's... Oh, go ahead. You want to say something?
Here's the other thing that's wild. I don't understand how there was ever a situation... So one of the rounds, it was like 4, and one of the rooms only had 3 people in it. So they didn't have enough people in the room. They had 1 less. So they killed the 3 because they didn't they didn't meet the correct number of people.
Yep.
I understand if there's 5 people in there because like somebody forced their way in. They're like, fuck it, let me just get in.
Yeah.
I don't understand how you didn't get, because people died that round that didn't make it. How the fuck did you guys not just grab a person and bring them in? Like, it doesn't make sense to me that they couldn't find 1 more person to go into that room.
I will say this, because I know we're just watching this shit happen. I noticed that room is really big. Extremely big. And I'm saying that for a reason. It's actually more spread out than it looks like when they're just running towards play. I think also you always have to account for the human fear and preservation aspect of it, where we're sound of mind right now talking on this podcast. We've been talking for almost an hour.
We don't have guns pointed at us.
We don't have guns pointed at us. We don't have the imminent death on our brain as we're talking about this. I think your primal instincts are definitely going to change how you behave in this situation, because you saw people start to get violent. And that's realistic. And I think what you're saying, being a strategist, is correct. You do need to be calm of mind and you do need to be a strategist. But I also think that some of that shit goes out the window when you, Gary, and Medina get a room and it's the numbers 3 and I am the fourth person in our little group, but then I don't really have a room. So now I'm looking and I'm fucking scrambling and I'm freaking out because I'm going to die. Like, I'm literally going to fucking die. You guys are in your room crying because like, oh shit, Frazier didn't make it. And it's like, you just have to hope that I made it, right? Like, you just have to hope that when you get in a room, like when that guy got in a room and his mom was just left outside in the fucking open, you just have to hope when the doors open back up for Mingle that your mom is just alive still. And it's horrible, but
By the way, that one kid's a bitch. The one kid could have bagged that bad babe. He could have bagged her. And then he fucking goes with Thanos and the other loser. Yeah. And he was like, he could have just stayed with her once again. You just go to a door, one more. We need one. And somebody would just fucking run in.
Was she the pregnant girl?
No, she wasn't pregnant.
Okay.
She wasn't pregnant. The pregnant girl's still alive.
She was the other girl who was like, I'm really this age, but don't tell them. Yeah. Right. She was really cute. And then, there was that whole, I remember her now. She was cute. She was a cutie patootie and she ended up getting murdered while he watched above her. He just like, in the night, she got stabbed up in the night and he just watched it above her. And then he threw something at them and then it didn't work. So then he just backed away and they didn't see him. Because he's a coward. He was pretty shit. But he was another character that was in like a little duo. Him and that girl were I kind of consider a little duo. The pregnant girl and the boyfriend who abandoned her because she was pregnant. Mm-hmm. They're like a little duo.
He was also like the crypto guy. I guess he was like a crypto YouTuber or something.
Yeah.
Because everybody was mad at him because like he said to buy like this random coin.
Yeah. Yeah, it was wild. Oh, other good parts though, because there's a lot of good parts in this season. So 001, he during the Mingle game got into a situation where he was in a room that had the wrong amount of people. It was too many by one. And at first he told the guy to get out, I think. Or like they said, like, get out. And the guy obviously did not. So then when it was time to close the door, he fucking just choked him and broke his neck. He killed him as a way to make it where the count was correct. I think that was on the last number 2. And there's just 2 people in the room. They went in, there was a guy and he was like out. And he obviously was like, well, I'm not fucking leaving. And so number 001, who we already saw in episode 3 when the games first started, one of the dudes walked up and started talking shit. And he just gripped him up and choked him. Another guy walked up, he started whipping his ass. He just like kicked him 3 times and threw the other guy away. And then you realize, okay, they showed us that for a reason. This guy can fight his ass off. So that way, when you're watching him in certain scenes, especially when it's the night attack, stuff like that, you don't have to ever worry about him and his safety because he can fight his ass off and he'll probably kill anybody in here. But him killing that guy was crazy.
He kills him. He also cheated. They don't show what happens, but he cheated. In one of the rounds, it was like, I think it was the round where like you needed 3 people and they had like 4 and he was like, don't worry, I'll be good. And like he went by himself somewhere.
Right.
And we never. And so like they went into the room, they were safe. He's like, I'll be fine. Go. And then he ran off by himself. And then when they met back up, they were like, oh my God, you're still alive. And he was like, yeah, I'm a pretty nice guy. Like people tend to like me.
Yeah.
But like we don't see how he ends up surviving that round.
You think he cheated that round now, right?
Yeah, he walked. He was like, guys, let's relax. And like they didn't
because they also know 001 is in the game. Every player, every person with a gun, they know that like he's off limits.
Yep.
But what I was gonna say is, I was wondering if he cheated because they don't, like you said, they don't show it. But you think that the insinuation is strong enough that it's there. This is also kind of true for Ilnam in season 1 with the marble game. So the main character, I believe, cheated him because Ilnam started to have memory loss, even though he was acting. But he started to pretend like, what did I roll again? Or whatever he was like, how many did I put up? And he's like, oh, you bet everything. And you lost. Yeah. And so like he cheated Ilnam. Ilnam gets killed, but off screen, which I would consider cheating. Because everybody else up until that point got shot in the moment. Like if you broke your cracker or your cookie or whatever the fuck it was, if you broke it, they walked up to you, put a gun in your head and shot you. But for whatever reason, when Ilnam lost the marble game, they like took him to a room and then you heard the gunshot.
Yeah.
And you were like, damn, that's fucked up. But everybody else just kind of like on the spot, gun to the head, pow, like shot. So that's kind of what you could tell. And I think you might be right that in this episode or in the Mingle episode, when he can't find a room and the other main characters find a room and he says, don't worry about me, I'll be all right. He just goes off camera. It is possible he just stood there and was like, maybe he pointed at it because I would also be still a little scared, right? These motherfuckers have guns and they're a little trigger. I would be like, I'm black. So I'm going like, here I go. You can't see me if you're not watching this on Patreon, but I am pointing at my fucking Nike logo that's on my sweatshirt right now because I'm pointing at the 001 that's on me right now as if to say, do not point that fucking gun at me. I will have you and your entire family wiped off the face of the fucking earth if you even pointed at me. If you even point that shit at me. So yeah.
That's interesting too, is that like he's risky, man. Also, okay, here's another example.
The game with the 5 people, I was like, you can't really control this one.
But he can, though, in a weird way.
Okay.
So
Cook,
because I was in a similar way, right? Because people ended up figuring out, like, if you go back and watch season 1, there's a bunch of hints in all of the games that the old man was never in danger. Like with the tug of war one, he was the only one that wasn't chained up. Like they were all like locked up to the rope or whatever.
right?
But if you look, Ilnam, the old man, was not chained up. He was like,
yep.
They went last. Their team went last. There was no audience there. So there was a way for him to get away with it.
Yeah, they would just shoot the other 4 people, and then you never know. Because when they all came in the room, they were surprised. They were like, oh shit, you guys made it.
Yeah.
But they went last, so it's like, well, yes, they went last because if this team actually failed, they would kill 4 of them. He would get unchained and be like, boss, go ahead, do what you're going to do.
Yeah, exactly. So that, like, there's little things like that where it's set up where even if he loses, and he fucking by the way, he fucking pretends he can't do it and throws the fucking top all over the place like 3 times.
I wonder what that was about.
And then, I don't know. And then at the very end, he like helps them win or whatever. But my point is, even if they failed, hope beyond, like if they just failed and they couldn't do it because they were the last team to go, there's no witnesses. So they can just kill everybody else, and then he's able to get away with it and go walk away.
Yeah, because they would just say the whole team got annihilated. You would never know. You're back in the room with all the food and the beds and shit, so you're just like, oh, I guess they failed.
Yep.
You would just hear all the players are eliminated on a loudspeaker, and then you would be like, damn, they failed. Okay, well, that guy, he won and came back, he's an idiot. You would just be like, he's a fucking idiot, and he's dead now. Couple things. So we didn't really talk about what happened before the games too much, but I did like the stuff before the games, even though it put me to sleep very often. But there was stuff where like the recruiter going around and how they were looking for him. And they said, yo, it's going to be a guy in a suit. He kind of approaches people who are a bit destitute, homeless, things like that. And he plays this game with him where you got to throw down the envelopes and all that. I like.
Oh, that's right. The first game in the 5-legged race was Dachigi.
It was that game.
Called. Yeah.
So
they played that again.
So the recruiter's going around doing that game with everybody, and I thought that was like a little, callback to the, what we all originally saw in season 1. But where it was really dope is that they're trying to find him, and this show, I realized as I was watching it, was like a commentary on a couple things, but one of the things that really stood out to me, because I have a lot of friends who love gambling, is I really feel like it's a case study on severe gambling addiction. Because whereas me and you both said earlier that it's a little unbelievable that people will continue to play a game where their life is on the line after experiencing death so close to you like that. And every round they keep voting to stay in it. And I agree. And so when I saw people keep voting to stay in, I said, I went on Facebook and wrote this, and it was like 2:00 in the morning. I said, so Squid Game 2 is just a case study on severe gambling addiction, right? And then people were like, yeah, absolutely. Because to me, the only kind of people that would be so degenerate to constantly gamble their actual lives away are people who actually do that in real life with like casinos and stuff like that. There are people who have to exclude themselves. I have a friend who has gambling addiction so bad that he can't gamble in Philly at all because he went to every casino and put himself on a self-exclusion list because he has a problem and he lost so much gambling over and over again. And it really hurt me to see him like that. But I was happy that like he did something to kind of help himself, like by making it where if he walks in a casino, he is trespassing now. He could be arrested, taken to prison or taken to jail or kicked off the property, whatever. But like he can't go to Harrah's, Philly Live, any of that shit. He's not allowed in any casino in Philadelphia because he put himself on the exclusion list, which means that if he wants to gamble, he has to literally leave the state to do it or whatever, like leave the area, which he's like, I don't have a car. I'm not going anywhere. But severe gambling addiction is definitely what I got from watching this. Also capitalism and things like that. Just the rich using the poor as entertainment, because that was the thing in season 1 where you saw the guys in the animal masks, and we realized that Squid Game was their entertainment in a way. I don't think you see too much of that this season with the group of people.
You don't see any of it, really. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, because like I'm not going to act like I didn't doze off in the first 2 episodes, like I said. So I wasn't sure if maybe they showed those people again or something. But yeah, I don't recall seeing them in season 2. So I'm kind of trying to understand, what the goals are of the whoever's behind it this time. Like they seem to be really interested in the main character though. Something about him has piqued curiosity in 001, the new 001. Yeah. He's very, very interested in the main character, and he's observing him. You can even see it during the show. He's staring at him for long periods of time. He's asking him, what are you going to do? Or what would you do here? Or like, just kind of trying to get, he's like, so if you could leave this place, you will leave, even though you know that these people are in debt and stuff like that. He's like, yeah, absolutely. This game is crazy. It's fucked up. It's awful. And he's like, but you'd kill people if you thought that it meant a better outcome for everybody, right? So you sacrificed a few for the many. And the main character's like, yes, like absolutely I would. He's like, interesting. And so he's studying him.
It's weird. On that note, so that what did I want to say? So because there's a couple times I wanted to bring this up, but I keep forgetting, and so I want to bring it up now. Just talking about season 2 and season 1. I think season 1, I do think it ended in so the way season 1 ends is like, because some people will argue, you don't think it makes sense that like he would want to go and put an end to this, right? What these people are doing to all of these like other people, these poor people, they're being exploited. Doesn't it make sense that he would want to put an end to it, right? But in terms of his character arc and his story, first of all, if you don't remember, in season 1, they do a vote and they all get out of the game. They get out of the game. He willingly, after seeing people get murdered, he willingly chooses to go back in again. Now, granted, I understand that there's a lot of money involved, but like he makes the decision to go back into the game after they let him out. They did let him go. He chooses to go back in. He goes back in. The time he spends in there, sure, he ends up winning. He gets all this money, but when he comes out, his mom's dead. He misses out on this time, on the last weeks of his mom's life. She's dead, and all the money he has doesn't matter. He can't do anything for her. But now he has a chance to be with his family, to go, I think they went to America, to go and be with his daughter. And then he has all this money. He can completely change his daughter's life, and he can enjoy the rest of his life. Sure, he has some trauma, but he can spend that time that he missed out on with his mom and spend that like all those wasted years of his own life. He can now do that with his daughter. In addition to that, he also won because he beat the old man in the end, where they were up in the hotel and he knew that the guy on the street was going to get help by some rant. And then like the old man was like, it won't happen. And he couldn't, and they reference it in the season. He was like, I beat Il-Nam in the end. He couldn't even look out the window to know that because he knew that he lost. Right. And like they had like this last little gamble and like this gamble of humanity or whatever. And he won. So like he proved himself. He won. He did all of that. And I feel like there's a really nice bow put on it all for his whole character arc for the story to end there. I just don't think it really makes any sense. We kind of already, for him to want to go back and for him to even have the idea that he could possibly have enough money to compete. Like these motherfuckers own like an island in North Korea or something. Like it's not remotely possible for this one guy to hire a fucking defaced detective, some Yakuza members, and like some random, like it just doesn't make sense. I just feel like there was a really good bow on the story in season 1. I just wanted to make sure I said that here, that I think the writing was really good to end it there. And a lot of the stuff in season 2, it simply doesn't make sense from a writing perspective. The show as a death game show is still entertaining. It's doing the death game
because it does it so well.
But as a season 2 to a previous season that I think ended really well, and them trying to infiltrate this game where they have infinite money and he's going to take them down from the inside. And then when he gets there, he doesn't do anything that would actually help take the game down. He doesn't fucking tell people, hey, you're going to step on glass and die. I don't know, just kind of like feels a little meh.
That's very fair. And I also think that it was a bit ridiculous when they showed that he rented out the entire floor of a hotel or whatever, and it had a fucking gun range that he put in there and like all the money on the table and shit. I just thought that was a bit insane because what? You're firing off AK-47s out of this fucking rented area? Like what is going on?
Yeah.
Like that's just so not real, bro. You became a expert marksman in the last, I don't know how much time has passed. I forget
2 years.
In the last 2 years, you became an expert marksman that you plan to, again, like you said, Kenny, by yourself. You're going to be Rambo. You're going to be fucking Joel from The Last of Us in the last episode. You're going to go through the entire fucking hospital and kill every single person and rescue the little girl. It's like, it's not actually real. Like it's just not a real thing. So, the show, like season 2 wasn't bad. I'm actually glad I watched it because after I watched it, I told Kenny, I said, I know we gave Squid Game 2 like a lot of shit and we weren't really looking forward to it. We said as much too. We were like, I'm not really looking forward to watching season 2 of this show because we both agreed that it should have ended with season 1. We knew that this was a cash grab and all that stuff. But after I watched it, I said, I'm actually more happy than mad that I watched it. And now I'm invested in seeing season 3 because I think what's going to happen is it's going to be one of those Saw 4 and 5, or it could even be as good as like, this is a stretch, but I'm going to say it anyway. Please forgive me. But it could be one of those Attack on Titan things too, where it's like, let's
relax. Let's fucking relax, okay?
I'm not even going to finish it. Never mind. Anyway, it could be a Saw 4 and 5. It could be a Saw. Let it be a Saw 4 and 5, damn it.
I mean, I'm not mad that I watched it. Like I said, I was entertained.
Yeah.
I just think overall, I think the big picture premise, like I've previously said, I think the big picture premise of it is really bad. And I think at this point, I don't really think any amount of writing is going to fix it. I think the premise of the continuation is really bad, and I don't think it makes sense.
I also think,
and I don't really think any conclusion is going to really make sense. But that said, the day-to-day episodes are still entertaining. The death game stuff is still entertaining and interesting. There's like fun drama. So
yep, I think for season 3, so a couple things. One, they're going to restart the games. I don't know how they're going to restart the games, but they're going to restart the games. There's no more games to be played. There's no way that we only get 3 in a season, and they're not going to like pick that back up. But what I don't get is the way season 2 ended, where the main character, his best friend or whatever, gets killed right in front of him. It's like, look at what your folly has got you, and then he shoots him or whatever. And it was really, they really made that part last a while before they killed the guy. Like, it was in slow motion, and he looked over at his friend, and then his friend looked over at the gun, and then he like closed his eye. It was really like hard to watch because, again, there's something to me that is so terrifying about knowing you're about to die. I never ever liked that. Like when I heard about like Kobe Bryant and stuff like that, and like certain times you hear about people dying in tragedies, and I always wonder how scary their last moments had to be when the realization sets in. Like if you know that a plane is going down, for example, how scary that feeling must be before maybe you pass out, or like the trauma from just like the blunt force trauma of crashing kills you. Like that has to be so terrifying. And when I think about that type of stuff, I get out of my head because it really does freak me out. Like the idea, I always say that like drowning, and probably being set on fire too, but drowning seems like such an awful way to die, because when I read up, I don't know why I did this to myself, but I read up on drowning and what it is like to drown. And apparently like you're alive for so long of the process of before you die. When you drown, you don't just like swallow a bunch of water and then you're dead. It's like, no, your lungs fill up with water and it's extremely painful, and it actually feels like you're on fire apparently, and you slowly die before your brain stops processing pain. It takes a very, very long time for that. So you're experiencing the entire agony of drowning while it's happening, which is really just like terrifying. So as I'm watching Squid Game and these people like they fuck up in the game or something, they do something wrong where they know like, oh fuck, I'm dead. Like the door closes in the Mingle game and now you're just out in the open. You know that these fucking guys in the pink are going to come out and they're just going to shoot you. And there's not going to be any like negotiating or please let me, like, I have a family, I have a kid, I have a daughter who's sick, I have a wife, I have my grandmother depends on me to get her medicine every week. It doesn't matter. They just kill you indiscriminately. And it's so fucked. And so, that part about the show is really well done because it's just so merciless. And I think that is how death actually is. Death is not some grand thing. In reality, all of us are going to die. Every single one of us. If you're listening to this, if you're like, living your life, at one point, we're all going to die. And it's not some grand spectacle. It's just death. Like, it is just death. And Squid Game makes me confront that very blatantly.
Yeah, it's fucked up. It really is fucked up. So I think you were saying, you're curious
the way season 2 ended.
Continue.
The way season 2 ended, I just don't get how there could be more to it. I know that there's going to be some huge plot twist where like the ill dude, whatever 001 is going to take an extreme interest in the main character, maybe force him to watch the games from some alternate perspective now, maybe make him like, instead of having him participate, he's going to have to watch. And
are you basically saying because if he just goes back to the room and goes back to playing the games, right? Why does he not just say, hey, that guy that was number 1 was cheating. He's the guy that runs the game.
Right.
He was in here. And then, like, I agree that should happen, but given his track record, he might not say anything.
Yeah, right. You can't put it past him. I just don't know how, like, where's the story go from here? There's a lot of players left. A lot of them are the players who, they wanted to stay in, right? Because the people who mostly revolted were the people who wanted out in the first place.
And they just let them get killed.
They let them. So I am curious of where it's going to go. The people who are left are the most degenerate because they're the people who keep voting to stay in, right? So they're technically the most degenerate. You have to keep that in the back of your mind. But like the main character's folly is done. There's no more coup. That coup is fucking crushed. Now you're at the mercy of whatever happens to you from here. And on one hand, I'm wondering if they're going to make the games continue out and just say, all right, we're just kicking you out. Go back. Like, we're going to knock you unconscious and take you back to Korea. Go enjoy your fucking money. And if you ever try some shit again, we'll kill you. Or I don't know. But like, I just don't know where it could go. And that's why maybe my script is terrible because I just can't really think of where it could go.
I think an interesting idea, I mean, we'll see what happens. I think an interesting idea is forcing him to watch it. Like, he doesn't get to participate in the rest of the games. Yep. He's like forced to watch. That's kind of interesting. They put him in a room and then they give him like they're bringing him all this fancy food and shit.
Yeah,
they're giving him all this high class
amazing
service.
Like, look at how nice, because you're one of us. You're rich, right? He is rich. He's rich as shit, actually.
That'd be kind of interesting. I don't know where it's going to go. I will say that also, like, that's another thing. Man, the way episode 7 ended, like, sure, there was like drama or whatever, but I was like, Jesus Christ, because it's like, it's not a season. Like, it feels like it's the middle of a season.
It did.
You know what I
it
mean?
Really did. House of the Dragon, this fucking every show that we've watched in the last year, I feel like, Kenny, we've been saying the same thing because it's true. Every show we've watched has seemed like it wasn't really the end of the season. It wasn't a complete thought. I was watching a review of Squid Game season 2 on YouTube a couple days ago, and the guy was saying, he said, you know how when Game of Thrones seasons like 1 through 6 ended, episode 9 was the real like crescendo of the season, and then episode 10 was always this leading into the next season, putting the pieces, like after some big battle, some big horrific event, putting the pieces on the board in episode 10 of every season, so that when you're going into the next season, you're like, oh man, next season's gonna be crazy. Like they set up for everything. Whereas these shows are kind of just ending in the middle of a complete thought. Every season of Game of Thrones 1 through 6, I felt like ended at a great moment. Like the Battle of Blackwater, season 2 is a good example. The Battle of Blackwater happens episode 9, where Tyrion uses the wildfire against Stannis Baratheon, who's invading King's Landing. And it's this epic explosion, all this stuff. Episode 10, we find out that the Tyrells came because there's a marriage between now the Tyrells and the Lannisters that was made in secret. But the Tyrells came at the last minute to save King's Landing from Stannis. So Tywin comes in, is like, the war's over, we won. That's the end of episode 9. Episode 10 is now the real hand of the king is back. Mm-hmm. Tyrion wakes up in a fucking small ass room with all this trash and shit around him, and Varys comes and visits him and says, no one will sing your praises. No one knows what you did but me. Like, I know you saved the city, but the stories that they're really telling about you are what you said to the king. Right, you told the king to go fuck himself and all stuff. You told him he was a coward and go back to your mom. People remember that, but they don't know that, like, you are the reason why the city still stands. He's like, but Varys is like, but I know. And then Tyrion's all sad. He's like, somebody tried to kill me, Varys. Like, somebody fucking tried to kill me on the battlefield. Like, somebody turned on me and tried to kill me. And he's like, I know, and it probably won't stop there. And then he leaves. Then Cersei comes in and she says mean shit to him. Then he talks to his dad, and his dad's like, you fucked up everything. And it's like, there's no just rewards. And it's such an amazing episode that sets up for season 3. It's to my point. Like, it's such an amazing episode. And I'm comparing it to the last episode of this season. I'm using air quotes. I'm comparing it to the last episode of this season. I don't feel like I watched something that's like this great wrap up to the season.
Yeah.
It just wasn't that.
No, it just kind of left as a continuation of season 3. Like, I mean, season 3 might be Saw 4 or 5. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I am interested. I'm certainly interested in seeing it. Like I said, I had fun watching it. I still think my previous kind of worries, to me, feel like they ring true, in that I think overall the big picture premise and the writing of what the plot is, I think, is still really bad.
Yeah.
But I think the drama and the fun of a death game and that kind of stuff is always interesting and entertaining. So it ends up still being interesting and entertaining throughout season 2 in that regard. But once again, it's a little disappointing that in the 7 episodes that are all about an hour, some of them are even longer than an hour, there's only 3 games that we get to see get played. Yep. And then the rest of it is just like a lot of fluff.
One of them is a repeat game at that.
Voting. Yeah. And it's just like, it just kind of feels like it's dragging a bit. But
yeah, there's one, this is like, we're going to wrap this up, but there's one other thing in the first 2 episodes. The guy does the Russian roulette thing. That shit was crazy. That freaked me out. Didn't that freak you out a little bit too?
Yeah, that was, I mean, I guess in a way you can consider that a game too.
That's what I was thinking as we're talking about that.
Yeah, it's in a different premise, but the Russian roulette was especially the one where they did, shout out to the gang leader. He's the homie. The gang leader's the fucking man. But when he had them both strapped to the chair,
yeah,
and they were going back, and they had to play rock, paper, scissors -1, where you put out 2 things and you have to pull one back.
Kenny, that fucking game is so crazy to me.
Yeah.
Rock, paper, scissors -1, and then I realized what happened at the end is like, well, you lose no matter what you choose.
Yep.
Oh, that game was crazy.
And then the gang leader set it up, like, the gang leader auto won, but then he set it up to lose to save the guy that just had a kid and has a wife or whatever. So the gang leader dies. That was fucking a crazy. And then he goes and plays Russian roulette with the main character, and that was just fucking wild as well.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't know. I always thought Russian roulette was played in the way where he was like, you spin it and then you shoot and you keep passing back and forth. And by the 6th shot, you're guaranteed dead.
Yeah, like the next person is 100%
always thought
dead.
That's how Russian roulette was always played. But maybe the rules are, because the way he was saying like that was a variant rule. Maybe the rule is
you rotate it, you flip the revolver every time.
Yeah, you do it every time. I didn't know that. Maybe that's the real rules. It's not like I ever fucking played Russian roulette.
Yeah, I'll never play Russian roulette. That's just not in the cards for me. But I was wondering which one was the true Russian roulette. Like if Russian roulette originally was spin a revolver, snap it in, shoot 6 times, somebody's dead, or is it spin a revolver every time? And
so it's always a 1 in 6.
It's always 1 in 6, and it's completely random type of thing. Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, we're just 2 podcasters here, but yeah, the dangerous Russian roulette. Well, they're all dangerous, but like the extreme Russian roulette where somebody is guaranteed to die on the 6th shot is that one's crazy. Because when you pass me the gun and there's 1 bullet left, I'm shooting you. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like I'm fucking not shooting myself. I don't like. What?
It's also, that's the other thing. Who are these people? I really do want to if they're going to expand the lore and the world of this place, I want to deep dive on the people that work for this company. Because that guy, all credit to him, he shot himself. He knew the next bullet was going to fire, and he shot himself. He didn't shoot the main character.
Yep.
He fully committed to it. He shot himself, and it's just crazy that there's so many people that are so comfortable with this death and killing.
Yeah, they're indoctrinated, and we don't know how they're indoctrinated to that level. Because I get it from like the Hitler's Third Reich type level where they have you get like a Rottweiler and you raise it and then you kill it. They turn you into a sociopath over time, right? They teach you that a certain race of people are like evil, and they drill it into you as a child. So that way you have this extreme obedience to the Fuhrer when you grow up. And if he told you to lie on your sword, you would actually do it because you've been indoctrinated so hardcore since you were a child that this is all you know. That makes sense. To take the girl who worked at a theme park who just passes out lollipops to fucking children and make her into a murderous, cold-hearted, open the casket type bitch. I don't get how that's possible either. You could not, in my head, you couldn't convert me into that either unless you like threatened my life, right? Like if you say there's a shot collar around your neck and if you don't do what I say, you fucking die. Some shit like that, right? Like some Saul type shit.
Yeah, so I want to see, hopefully season 3 explores it. I want to see how they even get, like, how do you get that job? What job offering is it? Like, how does that all play out? Like,
this is like, I don't know, like the 5th or 6th time you asked how you get that job, and I'm starting to get concerned.
Listen, I need money, bro.
Kenny keeps on saying, like, I'm just wondering how you get that job, and it's starting to
make me... get that job? What listing on Indeed is it? Like, how do I get this job?
If it's if it's under like Ratcatcher or some shit.
How much do I get? Say less.
It's just under Ratcatcher. Kenny's like, how do I apply for that one? Because I low-key am interested. Well, all right. I think we could wrap this one up, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the IMNerd podcast. This was a really fun episode because while the show season 2 was like kind of mid overall, it's still really fun to talk about because I think that the theory behind it, the psychology behind like a death game and stuff like that is so interesting, and the gambling and all of that stuff is just interesting to talk about. So I think it's just better than the actual show. But we're going to give a shout out to the people on our Patreon. Again, thank you so much in 2025 for still supporting us. That's fucking awesome. We're going to be doing tournaments, of course, all year and stuff like that. I'm going to YCS Orlando. If I see you at YCS Orlando, or if you see me, do not be afraid to just walk up, talk to me, whatever. Like I know some people will see me at an event and then after the event, they'll message me or be like, hey, I saw you, but I was afraid to come up and talk to you. You seemed like you were busy or you were doing something else. Just come up to me. It's not, I'm very approachable. No matter what I look like at the time, I promise you, I am a very approachable person. So yeah, I will be in Orlando looking to get some good eats out there. I'll be arriving Friday morning. So yeah, I'll be there early Friday morning, like 7 a.m. I think I land. So yeah, me and OG will be in Orlando competing for the house. And yeah, see what happens. But with all that being said, I want to give a shout out to Ronathan is also back for the new year. Leon, Xavier, This Ain't God, This is Stanley Earl, Luigi Wick, Dom, Dragon Ruler of the Side Events, Gabriel Marini, Alright Reynolds, First to Home, Hydro Pump, Vincenzo, Dallas Bailey, KJ, Chaos of the Side Events, Sarah Maria, Alexa Hearn. It's my Silverman episode and I need it now. I love that. Kyle Batoho, I'll Let You Suckle My Teats, Sugal, Vicky Venomon, Elijah Barfall, Tyler Chadeo, Volvi the Mega Monarch. In August, the podcast will be 4 years old. Where is Silverman? Oh shit, I see what's happening here.
Oh shit.
Janitor 215, Joshua Carroll, Eric Chai, Brian Moore, Behind the Duel, this podcast with Ty and Justin, Mike and John, and then we have
Free Tim Bailey's Glazed Smooth Butt, Nah, I'd Win, Frozen Go Dojo, B-Dog23, Hershey Bar, Phil and Poister, Romer Snyder of Team Hugh, Tyler Frasher, Daniel Anderson, Daroa, Chicken Toast to Strudel, Robert Light, Kazi95, Clanger, Pavinci, Travis Lurs, Harsh Kumar, ST19, Gregory Calmering, Juan Ambry, Limp Bizkit Jigsaw, Mike and John, Blue Fluff, Kyle Crudo, Frago, Anthony Japov, Michael Zhang, Konjik, and Tyler.
Also, by the way, if there are any people that you want to see on like Teach Me How to Cook, because I've been going off of recommendations as much as I can. If that's something that, if there's a player that you like want me to get, I'll try to reach out to them. Just be aware though, there are players that are like not going to be on Teach Me How to Cook because they just don't do this type of thing. And that's Jeff Jones and Billy Brake. Billy Brake is literally an employee of Konami. This is why you don't really see him on like podcasts and stuff like that. And then Jeff Jones doesn't really do stuff like this either. So while I do have a relationship with both of those people, like I talk to them at events when I see them and stuff, I know that they would be amazing to have on the channel. Maybe one day we'll be able to get them. But for now, they're just like out of the league, the scope of what is possible. I was able to get Patrick Hoban on the podcast. Maybe one day I can even get him to like do an actual video, like a dueling video. You know, when I come back for Dragon Rulers or something, maybe then. But we'll see. But yeah, if there's any players that you know, especially mainly Edison players who I haven't had on Teach Me How to Cook yet, let me know. I'm still looking to do one with like an Amaryllis player. I was thinking about Little Man, but then I know that there's other players who also play Amaryllis. But if there's other ones that you could think about, other decks that you want to see featured on that series, let me know. And I will try my best to make it happen. But with all that being said, guys, do the things that make you happy, including enjoying but critiquing Squid Game Season 2. And we will catch you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.